Welcome to Nightlight. Step away from the mainstream and gather around as we enlighten the world and our realities and travel this cosmic journey we call life. Join us as we share with you and provide that beacon that can guide us all to a better way. Explore with us as we examine a metaphysical montage of spiritual insights, covering everything from the mundane to the magical, UFOs to unicorns, and everything in between. This is a time of awakening, of sharing and evolving, of spreading our wings and soaring on the cosmic breath of creation. Come and join with other light-minded spirits as we weave our lights together to seek understanding, enlightenment, and, with a little luck, some wisdom. This is Nightlight, a reminder that you are never alone. And now, here is your host, the lovely, delightful, insightful, and all-around great gal, Ms. Barbara DeLong.
Evening, everybody, and welcome to Nightlight. I want to thank Ken Quiet Hawk for that amazing intro. I always, listening to his voice always gives me a warm, fuzzy feeling. It is just amazing. I have a great show for you tonight. I'm really very excited about it. I have two amazing guests. I have Marta Thomas, and one of the speakers for her conference is with us as well, John Shaughnessy. Marta is the founder and organizer of the Global Pyramid Conferences, the second of which is being held in Skokie, Illinois on September 20th through the 23rd. This conference is a collection of magical people from all over the world who have focused on the many different aspects and attributes of the pyramids, using all of their different modalities to delve into the depths of the unknown to bring light to these amazing structures that hold mysteries from the past to enlighten the present and evolve us into the future that beckons ever forward to us. As I said, she brings with her tonight one of her speakers, John Shaughnessy, who is a retired utility engineer, electrical power utility engineer. He is an independent researcher in the fields of theoretical physics, geophysics, moon physics, gravity, astronomy, ancient advanced high technology, and healing. And his passions are in the alternative world of ancient human history and theoretical physics. He's written two books. The first one is Pyramid Gravity Force, which explains the purpose and operations of all the pyramids scattered to the four corners of the world. His second book, There's Something About the Moon, ushers in a new age of reasoning, out with the old superstition and backward ways and in with newly discovered logic to liberate the human consciousness with this amazing discovery. This new book takes a journey into the very distant ancient past, into the divine feminine that uncovers the true origin of life on Earth, coupled with an amazing lost scientific knowledge on how the moon is a grandmother clock that regulates large cycles on Earth like ice ages and interglacial periods. In this book, he explains how our ancestors read the moon and how we as a collective people can read it today, knowing when the big changes are coming is the key to our survival. It's going to be a full show tonight, and I'm so excited having both of these people here. I'm going to bring Marta on first. Marta, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Barbara, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
I mean, you are doing stuff that is so inspiring to me. I can't imagine how you keep a sane, balanced mind trying to pull together 20 people or so to come together at one time to educate us and to enlighten us and to give us information that is, as a collective, awe-inspiring and mind-shattering. It's got to be a cool thing to do, but why did you do it? I mean, it's a crazy venture.
hit the nail on the head. Yes, it is a crazy idea, especially when you don't have someone else that has preceded you to follow and be able to compare and be able to take from what the work they've done before, so to make it easier on you. I have people anywhere from laughing at me to hanging up the phone to just plain outright telling me to my face that I'm crazy. And I said, I must be right on. I want to keep going.
Well, it's somebody has to, because researchers and people who get involved in studies really, really deeply often get so lost in their own worlds that they forget to share it with the rest of us. So somebody pulling these people together so that as a whole they can share information amongst themselves and then share it with the public is a monumental process. And you actually did it last year, and you had a very successful conference.
Yes, we did. The first conference was mostly scientific-based data and all the people that have been doing research from a scientific point of view, which has changed this year. Is the focus is the healing powers of pyramid and focusing on what can be done in so many different levels at a time where this information is so greatly needed, since our survival as a race depends on us remembering what it was like and the work we have done in the past.
Absolutely. And, you know, I think that when people get so very involved in their work, and all of these people I'm sure have, they kind of lose their perspective. And it's so important to kind of put them in a place where they can share it so everybody can get something from the knowledge that they've gathered. I take it there are a number of people, I'm not going to ask you to, give away any secrets, but there are a number of people that have new discoveries that will open the doors to understanding on multi-different levels.
Indeed, Barbara, indeed. The problem is that this, up to now, that this type of conference doesn't fall anywhere. We are halfway between the artsy, hardcore Egyptologists that are doing fantastic work in researching, but they're basically focused entirely out of Egypt. And it's important to know that there are pyramids, hundreds and hundreds of them, which we already know their whereabouts throughout the planet. And then there's the hardcore researchers that are not part of the Egypt-only group, and they do tremendous work bringing information forward that they have spent long time and arduous hours researching to bring that forward. So we are somewhere in the middle of that. We fall in the middle because we are tying spirituality to the research. And we have a different perspective as such for the archaeologists that are doing this work.
Well, and when you look at it, archaeologists are looking for one thing, and geophysics are looking for another, and astronomers are looking for another, and everybody's very protective of their field, so that you've managed to get so many people together to share their information instead of, kind of going, mine's more important than yours type stuff, because it all matters. And I think one of the biggest things that your conferences do bring out is that we really don't know anything about the pyramids, that we're just beginning to scratch the surface of the information that is there that can facilitate today a new way of living life, of utilizing the ancient techniques to apply to today. I mean, it's so important that, first of all, that like you said, that we remember, and secondly, that we apply it to our lives, because the work that's being done is just phenomenal. And the more I read, from people with different modalities, the more the more tantalizing it becomes, because, we see pyramids and we think of mummies and we think of King Tut and that's it, and we walk away, and there's so much more there.
Indeed, you're right on. The pyramids and the knowledge they hold, which actually we hold that knowledge. We look for it in monuments, but really we are the key to unlocking the information that's already been set there for us to come in now at this time and decipher and share. And I really emphasize the sharing part, because that is a must in the way I look at things. We are already the very strange ones in our family. And, there are other sectors of the population that prefer that maybe perhaps this information does not come out. I don't know, don't want to know. But this is about, as you mentioned, bringing this out, sharing it with one another, because by sharing and helping one another, we will be moving forward faster. And the pyramids are ready to develop the information.
Yeah, no, and they are all over the world. They're here in the United States. They're all over the world. And I've often thought that and I'm humanizing this way down to the basic level, but if those who actually created the pyramids in spirit are sitting somewhere watching, it's kind of like, get me another drink. Do you know what they're thinking now? And can you just imagine looking down, thousands and thousands of years later, and at somebody discovering, I don't know, a cell phone, and listening to the stupidity with which the people are trying to figure out, what was this for? Did they cook on this? Did they, what did they do with this? And, it's, stop and think, 2,000 years later, they're looking down at us trying to figure out, without a book of directions or anything, why we did something. And I'm sure they're just saying, and getting drunk, it's kind of like, we made it so clear. How can they be so stupid?
Well, we need to go easier on ourselves. But yes, I definitely hear what you're saying. But basically, remember, there's a timing to things, and that is a key. And the timing is here and now for this to come out, for this to unfold, for this to be revealed. And we're certainly open, because we're remembering the work we did before.
Well, and we do carry the genetics and the Hall of Records in our DNA, so that the information is there. Sometimes, though, it is just so far out that people tend to negate it because it's just too fanciful. It can't possibly be that. So
that's an excellent point you're bringing up. When you first hear, you ask the average American person, because the European are a little more sophisticated and more in tune with the pyramids than we are here in the States. If you ask the average American person, what about pyramids, they are going to 99% of the time tell you Egypt, and maybe they'll add Mexico, because they had done some tourist trip there, and I remember visiting them. But the fact of the matter is that in the Americas alone, we have over 300 pyramids. And you just don't hear about it. Pyramids are everywhere, and we listen as how did ancient civilizations, no matter where they were located, had the exact same idea. How did that happen? That is amazing to me. I'm just the average human being. I'm the average person in the Midwest. I don't have any major degrees, but I'm just as curious as the next person about pyramids. Maybe a little bit more, because I had gone to the risk of doing this. And you have to understand that our survival as a human race depends on us remembering the usages of pyramids, which our next speaker will be telling you a lot more about.
Oh, yeah. But, it's really, when you stop to think about it, our schools aren't teaching anything about the pyramid. Well, they're teaching about the Great Pyramid of Giza, yada yada, but what they're teaching today is not the truth, and yet we're still teaching the same thing over and over and over again, and we're not allowing the kids to actually question or take a look into the greater depths of what's there. And as a retired school teacher, it bothers me greatly that these kids aren't thinking. And when we have the materials and the abilities to do ground penetrating radar and LIDAR and all of the stuff that we have at our fingertips now, we're able to delve so much deeper into everything. And it's, while we're doing it, it's not being reported. It's not being shared. It's frightening as to what the future holds if our children aren't taught to question and start digging.
I would say don't follow, lead. And that falls under that category because we need to start thinking on our own. And hopefully we have learned enough so we can encourage our own kids to do so. And there's so much being done out there, but you just need to hear about it. People say, why should I come to a pyramid conference? And I said, why should you not come to a pyramid conference? Your survival depends on it, plain and simple. There's some amazing, amazing work being done. And this year especially, since we're featuring medical doctors. Who ever heard of medical doctors working in pyramids? Who ever heard of any doctor anywhere working in pyramids? But they're there. In countries like Cuba, the head of the orthopedic department in Cuba, who didn't have access to the medical profession of Western medicine, now has installed a pyramid in every orthopedic hospital. In every department of the hospital in Cuba has a pyramid. I bet you didn't hear about that.
No.
Well, there are people in India. One of my speakers in India is going to tell you what he did with senior citizens and healing and balancing everything with just pyramids. And he is not even doing it. He's teaching them how to do it so they can do it themselves.
Wow.
And that's part of what you're going to hear.
So you've got how many speakers there this year?
We have 20 speakers. It's a tight schedule. I need to do only one speaker at a time because to me it's important that you hear what they have to say each one. I don't even call them, I have no keynote speakers because I believe that everyone's work is just as important as the next person. So you won't see keynote speaker listed in the conference. So you're fully involved in whatever they're presenting at the moment, whoever's presenting.
And if people want more information on the conference, they go to www.globalpyramidconference.com?
Correct. And then you can also shoot me an email, and I'll be happy to answer any question privately that you might have.
And that email address would be?
Info at Global Pyramid Conference.
Well, that's easy. Okay.
Yes, it is.
Okay, I'm going to leave your microphone open just in case you have something you want John to touch into that he drifts away from. So we're going to, John, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Barbara. Hello, Marta.
Oh.
Hi, John. How are you?
Good.
So, John, you've written 2 amazing books, and they're both. I realize that this is really pyramid oriented, so I think we should start with Pyramid Gravity Force. And what prompted you to get involved in gravity and pyramids? What is it that led you to this point in time?
Well, I've always been, a scientist at heart since I was a youngster. I worked at the Museum of Science in Boston in the planetarium. I was a teenager, like 15, 16 years old. I would help with take the tickets just on weekends, and then I would run around and change the slides in the old Bell and Howell cameras during the presentation. It's all computerized now. It's not. Nobody's running around behind the walls and tripping and falling and trying to get the next slide in. So, anyways, yeah. So that was kind of like an introduction to the heavens for me and gravity and I've done a lot of research on my own. I've read a lot of books along the way of the giants, Newton and Newtonian physics and Einstein and I've been following along on all the great theories out there, grand unified field theory and quantum physics, and I've always dabbled into, even though I've been working full time as an engineer, but I've always, that was my passion, was gravity, and I used to do experiments on my own trying to manipulate gravity with apothecary scales and a few other things. So that was kind of my intro into the world of science and physics, along with going to schools and things of that nature. But that kind of set me up for the big question when I walked into the living room one day. Somebody had the TV running. It was on, and Makio Aku he's from New York. He's a physicist, pretty popular guy. He's a lot of books, a lot of theories, I just sat down in a lazy boy chair, and as I was going down and free falling into it, the last words come out of his mouth before they cut to a commercial was, "We still don't know what these pyramids are for," And I had a table mounted globe in the corner of the room, and I was looking over at it, and I just had an epiphany, geez, I wonder what's on the opposite side of the Giza pyramids. And I always, for some reason, I always had globes around. If you went into my house, there was globes, there was atlases, globes. I was just fascinated with these, the Earth and everything. So up I go. I take the 15-foot trek over to the other side of the room. I found Giza, and the Giza Plateau, the pyramids, and then I spun it 180 degrees, and it landed on the Hawaiian Hotspot. So that's odd. It's one of those things. So, a few weeks passed with me, thinking about it, and I said, well, there's other pyramids on the planet. What are they lining up with? So I started to get into, I said, okay, we get the Sun pyramids in Mexico, and they line up with, a extinct volcano in the on Sri Lanka called Mount Sigiriya. It has an elongated skull for a magma plug, and it has giant claws that rival the size of the Sphinx in Egypt, and nobody knows where these came from. So, well, that's odd. Then the other ones were the Shen pyramids in China, and they lined up with Bermuda Island, which is two super calderas. And then, after 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 alignments, going from one place to the next, I said, well, okay, so we have some physical evidence here that shows there's a definite connection to pyramids and volcanoes. And then just me being obsessed with gravity and the mechanics behind it and fascinated by it, I said the only thing I could deduce was it's a gravitational connection between these two places that were literally 4 to 5 to 8,000 miles away from each other in some instances. So, or maybe not 8,000, but maybe 5 to 6,000. So I get into the alignments. I get into the basic. It's like I kind of jumped into geophysics and theoretical geophysics and plate tectonics and magma control And so all of a sudden I just got immersed into all these different fields that were a lot of great minds have come and gone and really did a lot of amazing work. And Velikovsky was one of them, and there's a bunch. The list goes on and on. But what I was going to say was so the connection. So stepping back and pulling back from it all, I'm saying, okay, what's powering these pyramids to connect with these volcanoes? Because gravity, there's two types of gravity that I refer to. One's static, and the other one's live gravity. So, and Earth is submerged in live gravity because of its moon, and we spin through the moon's gravitational field, and we see this every day with the high and low tides, twice a day on the planet. So that was a big a breakthrough for me, because nothing was adding up. Like, it was just like nothing was making the connection. Like, just having a pyramid sitting on the ground, to me, was just static. It didn't have any real flows. And then once I connected the moon to as the energy source, and that the pyramids were actually acting like lenses, gravitational lenses, and offsetting the gravitational fields 180 degrees opposed to them on the same approximate latitude, then it started to ring it true. And then what we see every day to back that assumption up, or that theory up, is you have a moon high tide, and 180 degrees opposed to the high tide, you have a moonless high tide. So you have this repeatable, observable evidence happening day in and day out that is backing up what I'm saying about these pyramids in connection with these volcanoes.
Okay, so you have identified a connection.
Right.
What is the purpose of the connection?
Well, this is what it kind of grew into. Planet builders. Okay, whether you believe it's God or light beings, whatever. To me, the further and further you get into the universe and planets and just the amazing things, it's the odds that this stuff just happened on its own with the Big Bang is just absolutely absurd. There is the Big Bang. I subscribe to that, but there was some fine tuning done in this solar system. Okay, and this with the planets, the whole trajectory that we're on around the center of the Milky Way galaxy. But anyway, stepping back from that, I had to ask myself a question: what is it on this planet that you need to control? What is, like, if you're a planet builder and you put together this beautiful planet called Earth, what is it that you want to control to make life nice and quiet and easy to, thrive? And it's plate tectonics. It's magma control. It's subduction zones. You want to keep them soft and malleable. You don't want them building up energy, and every time the seasons change, you get this huge release of energy that wipes everything out. So to me, it was pretty simple. I just said, okay, that makes sense. It was something I could grab onto. It's viable, and what I see with the pyramids, like just say the Giza Plateau pyramids and the Hawaiian Hotspot. I refer to the Hawaiian Hotspot as the magma relief valve for the Pacific plate, the Pacific Ocean. And although it's surrounded by the Ring of Fire is, a massive, volcanic
Ring of volcanoes,
zone. Yeah, Ring of Volcanoes. But in the center of the Ring of Fire, you have the relief valve. Now, if that was to just say, recently we just had a large increase of magma discharge through that Hawaiian Hotspot. Now, just imagine if that wasn't allowed to release that magma, it would be coming out in violent explosions around the Ring of Fire. And so it would build up somewhere else and blow up. So point being, the Giza Plateau or the pyramids in the Nile Valley. So I think over time, when people understood what was going on with the planet, they would make larger pyramids, or they would rebuild the pyramids to keep that lensing mechanics going to allow the Hawaiian Hotspot to stay open to relieve magma pressure. And so that's just going back in history. So the point is that was the number one reason for these pyramids for me. Now there's multiple purposes for pyramids. There's three major that I've discovered, that I've come to believe. So one would be magma control for pyramids. Now you have ancient calderas, like I talked about. I pointed out the Bermuda Island. You have two super calderas. Now those are dormant right now. And then you have the sun pyramids lining up with Mount Sagira in Sri Lanka. That being said, there's different geological times on Earth, and we're in a very short time span in the interglacial period. Most of it's 10 to 13,000 years. So the geology changes when we go into an ice age, and these pyramids that are still there and the calderas are dormant will open up as we go back into an ice age and relieve pressure at these specific points. And these three big ones are actually in the ocean. And you have one in the Atlantic Ocean, which is the Bermuda Island, and then you have one on the Indian Plate, which is Sri Lanka. So they're strategically located, in a third of the planet, a third of the way around. And they're in the middle of these oceans, or not quite in the middle, but they're in the middle of these plates. So that all being said, except for the Indian Ocean one. So that all being said, there are multi-purposes for the pyramid. So when you build a pyramid, you're creating a lensing operation underneath, or application underneath the pyramid with the moon's gravitational pull and release every day. So as we spin through it, as a pyramid spins through the moon's gravitational lock that it has on the planet, it condenses the gravitational field inside the center line of that pyramid, and it pulls things up. Now, large pyramids like the Giza Plateau pyramids, they manipulate magma currents and open punch holes in tectonic plates to relieve magma pressure on the opposite side of the planet. But in conjunction with that, they also pull up magma close to the bottom of the pyramid, and they also pull up water. And over time, they actually raise the land that they're built on. So if you ever go out and see all these thousands of pyramids or hundreds and hundreds of pyramids around the world, you'll notice that all of them are kind of elevated on the land that they're built on. So one's magma control. The other one is the second one would be to raise the land that it's built on. Like one of the more critical pieces of land mass on the planet is Central America. It's a little peninsula, but what it does is it separates two large ocean conveyors. You get the Pacific conveyor, and then you have Pacific Ocean conveyor, and then you have the Atlantic Ocean conveyor. Now, if that strip of land were to be compromised, you would crash those two conveyors and cause some major weather disruptions around the world. And most of Europe is inhabited because of the ocean conveyors in the Atlantic Ocean. It brings the warm water up through the Gulf Stream. And England itself is on the same latitude as Alaska. So that's the second. The second purpose would be, so that's why you have like 300-400 pyramids in close proximity to each other on that peninsula of land, and it's to keep that land from sinking, and it actually raises that whole peninsula, the Central America Peninsula, and in strategic places, it keeps that land elevated with the moon's gravitational lock on it. The other thing is the smaller pyramids. Well, those would be medium-sized pyramids. So the smaller pyramids or large pyramids, the smaller pyramids would be used to manage your ground table water, right? Your ground, your aquifers underground. Because if you could pull on the moon when the Earth spins through, you gotta slow down a little bit. You get it excited. So when the Earth spins through, when the small pyramid spins through the gravitational field of the moon, it pulls, because it's a concentrator of gravity. It concentrates the gravitational field. It pulls the groundwater tables up higher underneath the pyramid. Okay, instead of, it would come up anyways, but because there's a pyramid there, it'll pull it up maybe 3 or 4 feet for 100 miles around the pyramid. So gravitational.
Wait, isn't the Great Pyramid at Giza built on solid rock?
Yes, on the grotto, right? But it's still lensing the gravitational field. It's a higher, denser gravitational field that goes through the rock into the aquifers that are underneath. Now they've identified 2 of the largest freshwater bodies of fresh water. They're like freshwater oceans. I think they've used that term under the Giza Giza Plateau or the Nile Valley pyramids, and also under the Shen pyramids in China. Those are 2 separate, places that have been identified as having massive aquifers underneath them. So again, that's backing up my theory that you have these pyramids. And there's also mountains. Mountains do the same thing. They lens the gravitational field. They also pull the water up, the water tables up to the into the mountain, or up under the base of a mountain also. So it basically comes down to geometrically shaped mass: mountains, pyramids, volcanoes. Now, if you don't have a mountain around, you're going to build a pyramid to keep the water levels high under the ground. Raise the ground, and then also for geoengineering purposes or planetary stability, you're going to punch a hole through a tectonic plate on the opposite side of the planet and relieve magma pressure. I know it's far-fetched, and it's out there, but the alignments don't lie. The alignments are dead on.
No, I got the alignments. What I'm fascinated with is, what about, a lot of these pyramids have been altered or destroyed or definitely blown up parts of, especially the Great Pyramid at Giza. They were not gentle with that one. Does that disrupt this whole process as well? Does that change the frequency with which these ages roll past us, or are we still stabilized?
That's a great point, great question. My feeling, and a lot of people that I speak to, is that the pyramids. If you break it down to subatomic flows of just say for an analogy, say the sunlight, and you take a magnifying glass and you concentrate the photons into a tight focal point, you create heat. You're actually condensing what's available light on one side of that lens, and you're bringing it down to a tight focal point to generate heat. And that's just a subatomic particle, the photon. Now you have on the flip side of that, you have the subatomic particle, the graviton, which is a weaker force on the planet than the photon. But the graviton, so that's why pyramids have to be so large, to do the same thing that a simple magnifying glass would do with the photon. So that's why you have to build these, some of these pyramids are 6 million tons and bigger.
Oh, yeah.
There's larger ones. Levante, El Tigre, down there in Guatemala are twice as high as the pyramids in Giza. So the point I wanted to make was, the more perfect and the more the more perfect the shape of the pyramid is, the more it can lens. Like if you had a damaged glass lens and you were trying to concentrate the photons into a tight spot, it was all scratched and cloudy. It's not going to do a good job condensing the photons into a tight focal point to generate heat. Same with the pyramid. If you let the pyramids erode and fall into ruin, and they lose that precision geometrical shape that it once had, they become weaker and weaker. So, point being, if you went over to, you could see some of the middle pyramid on the Giza Plateau, GP2. I think that's Menker. Is it Menker? I forget.
Well, isn't one of them missing a capstone too? And with that,
they all are. Most pyramids, I don't think you'll find a pyramid that was built in ancient times. They're trapezoids. They're really not pyramids. Yeah. They're trapezoids. Hence the term trap. They're trapping the gravitational field in the center line. But the point I wanted to make was the middle pyramid still has its exterior casing up in the top third of it. The exterior casing was a smooth, real refined piece of masonry that gave the pyramid the perfect optics, if you will, because we're basically dealing with optics here when we're talking about these giant pyramids. We're on the level of opticians or optics. Optic physics, really, that you're trying to achieve here. So just to give you a visual. So you want to have all your pyramids brought back to their original shape, the original design, and that's having a smooth exterior. And so yes, there is concern that these pyramids, although they still are working, they're not working as good as they could be working. So, just to make a point, if we got a movement going to rebuild the pyramids on the Giza Plateau and brought them back to their original design specification, you would be pushing more magma out of the Hawaiian Hotspot, and that would quiet down the ring of fire, and you wouldn't have so many of these El Nino or high temperature ocean conditions that you have in the Pacific. So it's like everything is connected. Like this, you do this and you have, you do one thing and you get three other things that change. So there's some reasoning behind controlling magma on this planet, and putting it through the Hawaiian Hotspot is one of the I think it's one of the few dynamics of places that are still in operation from the last time these pyramids were rebuilt. Actually.
Well, there are some huge calderas. Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
There are some huge calderas, in Yellowstone for one, but there's another one that's in it's kind of closer to the coast towards California too. So are you suggesting that we're going to see a lot more volcanic eruptions and stuff like that because we don't have the pyramids in place, or are the pyramids there just to keep a balance, and it's essential for there to be a pressure release point at some point in time in order to keep us stable?
Yeah, I think if we could get 100 scientists together at the university level and jump into this ancient technology, that common sense will reign, and that it'll be like, okay, these are constant erupting volcanoes. These pyramid control volcanoes, they create constant erupting volcanoes when they're built to the design specifications. Point being is that a lot of the other volcanoes, stratovolcanoes, and all the other types of volcanoes, they blast off and then they seal up, and then 50 or 100 or 1,000 years later they do the same thing, and they have catastrophic damage onto all the surrounding area. So if you had a choice of opening up an already active volcano and don't let it seal up, okay, by building a pyramid on the opposite side of the planet, 180 degrees away from it, you deflect the magma currents, or you lower the gravitational field over that volcano and allow the magma to dribble out over time, so it doesn't seal up. So it's a constant erupting volcano. And then what you've done is you've controlled a geographical location on Earth and prevented it from creating these catastrophic volcanoes from erupting. I'm not saying you could do it everywhere, and it's kind of, I think when you do it on a global scale, it's for a much larger reason than just keeping a nice vacation resort free from volcanic activity. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, so the pyramids were strategically placed on purpose in order to create these pressure release valves, so to speak.
Yes. At different geological times, like we're just in an interglacial period, which is the big flood, and eventually we're going to hit our water maximum, and we're going to have a tilt, or we're going to go back into the ice age. If you're in my camp, you're going to have a tilt, and you're going to have less sunlight. If you're in Milankovitch's camp, he says that the orbit of the planet changes and we get colder, which there's no evidence of that. But so in different times you have different geology going on the planet. So
so the question does kind of hang in the air here. How old are they really, and who actually built them?
Mm-hmm. Well, the humans, every one of them were human. You got to basically take the human form down here. I think it's a lot easier to live as a human being than anything else. So
I would think so.
We're going, to go out. I mean, to me, I dated the pyramid the last rebuild. I call it the last rebuild. This type of construction, this type of technology has been down here for hundreds of millions of years. And there's evidence of that. There's evidence of modern man being down here 300 million years, and on and on and on. And so without raising too many eyebrows and having people fall over, I'd say I keep up.
Well, I wouldn't. I'd raise the eyebrows. Go for it.
well, I'm going to rein it back in, and because I think the last rebuild is synchronized with the last magnetic pole swap. So going back that far, it's 800,000 years since the last major pyramid rebuild or construction occurred on the planet. Now, going forward from that time, I think that every 100-some-odd thousand years, these pyramids get rebuilt, or they get a facelift, if you will. Maybe they get larger as well, or they might have to put pyramids somewhere else to adjust for the changing geographical conditions on the planet. So that's,
okay, I come back to you again.
That's the timeline. That's my timeline, anyways. It was
great timeline, but all I'm saying is, where did the understanding of the technology come from? Because frankly, we don't have it today.
Well, it's you call it the rational mind has imprisoned the intuitive mind on this planet, and
I would go for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's an Albert Einstein, an Einsteinian comment, if I'm not mistaken. So that in mind, you have like brilliant seers that have come down to the ages. You had Nostradamus, Edgar Cayce. I mean, these guys, Tesla, Einstein. I mean, Newton. A lot of geniuses come in at certain times, and they bring in a technology, and they bring in a concept, they bring in theories, they bring in ideas, and this is what's going on right now. It's why probably on the radio show right now. This is the process of right now of bringing in some information for the future generations that will that'll seed the human consciousness on this technology, and it'll go. I mean, I think it's like the grand design here is the planet was built with the human mind in mind, and so it's like you rise to the intellectual heights of the gods, I think, the masters, and then we plunge down. That's if you're going to design a life form and a solar system and a planet, you can't have it continually going straight up. It would destroy itself. So you have to, it's got to go in. It's got to go in cycles. It's up and down. It's up and down. Otherwise, it gets boring. If you know everything, it's like, why get up? So,
well, yeah, that's true. Well, let's go back to.
You get into philosophy here,
Well, I'm fine with that, but let's go back. Let's go back to the
Yeah.
Great Pyramid of Giza.
Okay.
And only because that's the one that most people are a little bit at least familiar with. The Queen's Chamber, the King's Chamber, the Grand Gallery, the whole stuff there. So going with your philosophy here, frankly, I don't think anybody really believes anybody was ever buried in there. I mean, that just doesn't make sense at all. So
actually, it's the most ridiculous idea seems to be the most popular one, the tomb theory. But go ahead.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So what was the purpose of the Grand Galley, the quote unquote
Grand Gallery?
The Grand Gallery, and the Queen's Chamber and the King's Chamber and all of those levels of big heavy rocks in the King's Chamber that went above the chamber itself and the air passageways. Obviously, they were not. I mean, obviously, let's just admit it's a mystery. So, according to your belief system here, how were those? I mean, it was constructed purposely that way. So what was the Grand Galley for? What was the King's Chamber and the Queen's? What were they for?
Well, I'll tell you, my ideas change from year to year.
Oh well, no, mine do too. That's perfectly all right.
Yeah.
I mean,
the Grand Gallery. It's just an amazing piece of work. I mean, the corbelling going on in there, and the stonework, just beyond everything. It was Pierre Houdin, I think he came up with the ramp theory, and he said that the Grand Gallery was used as some kind of a ramp to get those larger beams. There's 41 of those 70-ton Aswan granite beams up into the top of the King's Chamber, which is was it four relieving chambers up there? And
4 or 5.
5. Yeah, 5. Yes, it's 5. And I mean that kind of like it makes sense. It's like there's a pretty big beams. It uses a ramp to get it up there some way. I don't subscribe to the loincloth and bare feet and ropes and stuff. I think there's a little bit more going on. I think there's a little bit more going on besides that. So I mean, it's possible that the Grand Gallery was just a way to get the heaviest stones up to make the relieving chambers, which by the way don't relieve anything. It's a pyramid. I mean, all the mass and weight is distributed equally out to the foundation. So so would be my answer for that particular location. Now, getting into the Queen's Chamber, the Queen's Chamber used to be the highest chamber before the last rebuild, from what I understand. And there's evidence of that. The larger course of blocks on the level of the Queen's Chamber on the exterior of the pyramid show that they came in and put another large level of the larger stones of 20-ton blocks up on that course. I forget which course it is right now, but that escapes me. And then they built, what we see today, a larger pyramid. So the Queen's Niche, that was the old Grand Gallery. That was, if you look at the shape of the niche, that's the same shape as the Grand Gallery has right now, going up to the King's Chamber. So they dismantled that, and they made the pyramid that we see today. That all being said, so they created the King's Chamber, and then you have the subterranean chamber. Now, they're all focal points inside this gravitational lensing machine we call the pyramid, the Great Pyramid. And if you wanted to increase the gravitational lensing, or you could even have, some other, what do we call it, a process going on. Like you could actually have like dry nuclear fission going on inside that chamber if you wanted to, and just, cycle, have tubes going into the chamber, the King's Chamber, and remove the heat for the surrounding communities, make electricity, what have you. There's other methods of generating nuclear power than what we have today, where we super concentrate uranium to the point where it'll burn a hole to the core of the earth. Where this particular instance, you could just take the raw uranium, I think it's 238 or 235 out of the ground, just assemble it inside, like, say, the sarcophagus in the middle of the King's Chamber, and that would, just being in there and having it all closed up, you would have the gravitational lensing going on. But I'm getting off topic, but if you wanted to increase the gravitational lensing capacity of those pyramids, you would fill the whole of these chambers up with, say, dense material, be it gold, lead, uranium, and that would increase the gravitational lensing if you just filled the King's Chamber up and the Queen's Chamber up. So what that would do, in essence, would increase the gravitational pull on the Hawaiian Hotspot and lower the gravitational field over there and allow more magma to come out. Just a theory.
Gotcha.
On what those chambers are doing,
It's really kind of interesting. If you look at a slice of the pyramid, the Queen's Chamber appears to be directly under the point of the pyramid. The King's Chamber is off center slightly. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And is there a purpose to that?
Yeah. There might be. Obviously there is. Whether we know it or not, I don't know. I don't know if I know. I'm aware of it. Yeah, I am aware of it. And there's definitely a reason for it. Now, is it because of the Grand Gallery is so large? I mean, I think the Queen's Niche, the old Grand Gallery used to point to the east, and the new Grand Gallery points to the north. So I'm not 100% sure on why they're off-centered. Maybe for structural purposes. Mm-hmm. Maybe not to destroy the Queen's Chamber. They might have just shifted it over a little bit. But they still could, they could still, increase the lensing capacity by filling it up with denser material.
If this is, there is a connection between the pyramid and the volcano and then the moon. How does the moon tie into all of this?
The moon is the engine really behind it all. It shakes everything up on the planet. It controls the speed of the planet. It gives us high tides. It controls the magma currents. It keeps everything malleable, soft, flexible. It flexes every tectonic plate on the planet every day when we spin through it. So that releases any built up energy between these large tectonic plate boundaries. So that's it's like perpetual motion. It's somewhat perpetual motion. I mean, the pyramids, other than having to be repaired every once in a while, they're basically they work for hundreds and hundreds of thousands of years, and they work off the moon's gravitational energy. It's really a great system that you just it's second to none, really. So the moon ties into it as the free energy. It's like solar panels. You put the solar panels out, you get electricity. You put the pyramids out with the moon, and you get the moon power, and you get free magma control. Or it controls your water levels, your water tables, and your aquifers, underground aquifers, or it raises the land that they're built on. But it's also, I think you can do other things in there. There's healing. We're going to get into healing inside of pyramids, whether it's a 6-pound pyramid or a 6 million ton pyramid, and the time to go in based on the moon's angle, so you could get the maximum benefit of the cosmic flow in the planet. Like the moon controls the cosmic energy flow through the planet. Obviously you get the radiation from the sun, but the gravity flow through the planet and through the pyramids is something that we're going to talk in length about at the conference, the Global Pyramid Conference, the Second International Scientific Global Pyramid Conference, the healing power of the pyramids. We're going to segue right into the when it's not good to go into a pyramid just because you're there. You need to go in at the right time, otherwise you're stressing out your whole system. So
how do you
benefit?
Okay, so that's pyramid. Everybody walked in the '60s. Pyramids were they had a peak in interest, and everybody walked around with little pyramids on their heads, and people sharpened razor blades with them, and they charged seeds with them, and you made a really good comment, because so many people visit the pyramids, but how do you determine what the right time is to be in one of these huge structures?
Well, you want to go with your everybody has a flow for your chakras, right? I mean, it comes through the top of your head, and it goes down through all your chakras and out the bottom, and it circles back up again. So you want to go in. You want to go into a pyramid when that flow is present. That's going to you're going to synchronize with that flow. There's different flows of cosmic energy and gravity based on the moon and its position on the planet. So if you go in one particular time, you might have an unbelievable urge to take a pee. They'll be crushing down on your bladder. Okay, I'm sure a lot of people know what I'm talking about. That they listen to the show, and that's one of the reasons. If you're going in, it affects your endocrine system immensely. So that's one of the drawbacks of going in at the wrong time. So
okay, well that definitely.
Yeah. But I'll reveal more at the conference. I don't want to let too much out right now. But
Maria, you have? I think Maria tried to get in here. Maria? Marta? I'm sorry.
Marta.
Marta, yes.
Yes, John. Thank you for mentioning the conference. You'll be quite unique, and I appreciate your bringing it up.
I just, so many people are so fascinated with healing, with utilizing pyramid energy. And so, I want to go into this a little further because, aside from emptying your bladder, there are healing aspects to the pyramids. Now, when they say to leave razor blades or seeds under them, nobody says anything about what phase of the moon to utilize this energy. So if someone is really interested in utilizing the pyramid energy, whether it is a little one they have on their head or a big one they hang over their bed or a pyramid they have outside in their backyard, how do you determine when is the best time to go into it for healing?
Well, it's an angle. It's if you look at the flows, you look at the gravitational pull of the planet. Okay, now if you're in a pyramid, and the moon's right overhead, that energy is coming up from under the pyramid, right? It's coming right. The opposite direction of your crown chakra flows. Okay. Now, if the moon's 180 degrees on the other side of the planet, it's pulling down. It's pulling down. It's pulling the gravitational field down, and it's lowering the gravitational field inside the pyramid. Now, if it's 90 degrees for the pyramid, the angle of the moon is 90 degrees to the pyramid, then you're in. Or your geographical location on the planet. Mm-hmm. It's going to pull the subatomic flows in the same direction. Okay, gravity. All the galactic energy is going to flow through your body in the same direction that your system is set up and it's operating properly. So
that would be healing?
Yes, that would be healing. Right. That would be healing. Who knows? People need to. I'm just bringing this up. This is relatively new discovery that I'm bringing forth, like all my stuff. Well, most of my stuff. So the point being is like we need to do research on it. Like we need to do double blind research. We get 100 volunteers to go in and tell us what they feel at this particular moment, and then go at the 90-degree phase of the moon, and what are you feeling at this particular moment, and then we could also wire them up with biofeedback equipment and check the stresses of your body, of your mind, of your bladder. And
well, it does kind of make it does make What's one. There are tourist groups that are going all the time to the Pyramid of the Sun in South America, and certainly the Giza Plateau, and you make that kind of a trip, you put that kind of investment into traveling there. You want to make sure that you're able to calculate when is the best time to put yourself in the position of these energy flows.
You're going into a very large machine with cosmic energy, gravity. You're subjecting yourself to a very very intense energy field when you're going into these machines. So if you want to go in at the right time,
I would say so.
I don't, and for the most beneficial, effect for you. I think there's,
was there, in your opinion, because I know there was no book of directions with the Great Pyramid when it was opened up. There is a granite, for want of a box, that they call a sarcophagus. Was there a purpose to that structure in the king's chamber that they They damaged the lid when they took it off to find nothing inside.
Right.
What was the purpose of it, and was it moved, or was it in the center of the chamber?
I think it was. It lines up with the two air shafts, well, not air shafts, the gravitino accelerators. But I point out in my book. But if you were to flip the sarcophagus over, push it in front of both, east and west air vents, and are they east and west? No, they're north and south. So they're north and south. And lay down on that sarcophagus and put your head right between the two of them. So that would be the cosmic energy flow. So I think going out on a limb here, that was the reason it's at that height is for certain individuals to lay down on the sarcophagus and yet the increase of cosmic energy flow in conjunction with the moon's angle over the pyramid. So, and I'm going further out from there. I think it could be used to actually change the DNA of modern man, and maybe take the caps off of that little DNA strand and maybe get a few more inches out of it. So. And bring back some elongated skull people walking around. Maybe they could manage the planet a little bit better.
Would not be a bad thing. Now, those air shafts were not really air shafts.
Those air shafts. Finish the point. It might be used for conception. You know what I mean? Not to digress any further. But if you go in there at the right time and in the right position, you could change the DNA of the baby, and get a super being. So just a thought.
Okay, so you mentioned
they won't let me in now. They're not going to let me in the pyramid. You know that. But go ahead.
Oh, yeah, no, I wouldn't. I don't think I would. Those air shafts, you could take gerbils in or something, but those air shafts were not really air shafts. They were sealed. Right. So their direction and everything has nothing to do with astrogeometry or anything like that. It was merely they were. Yeah. Yeah,
I mean, I don't subscribe to the astrogeometry and the time and the time stamps. Although it's possible, like I said, these things have multi purposes. There's many purposes to these pyramids, and they've shown that it does have alignments to the stars up there, and they can adjust you can simulate the sky and adjust it back to, I forget what year they came back to when those shafts were built.
I think more like 12,000.
Yeah, there's a 12,000, but I mean, we already have the biggest clock. We already have a clock that's foolproof. It's precession, and that is the biggest timepiece on the planet, other than the moon. But it's not the planet, but. So, anyways, the shafts. I got a couple of videos on my YouTube channel under John Shaughnessy, and I put out a couple of theories on, the shafts, and one being, graviton accelerator that I have in my book, and gravitino accelerator, and the other one is there was these granite balls that they found in the King and Queen's chamber, and they had the bronze hooks. They went up with Upawat, and they went all the way to the top of the pyramid of the shaft, and in the Queen's chamber, because the King's chamber's doors were blown out by the gunpowder tears there. Colonel Weiss and a few of those other gunpowder happy people are just blasting away at that thing, looking for the big stash, And so, anyways, the Queen's chamber, Dixon He was a Freemason that discovered and opened up the Queen's Chamber shaft. I think maybe 100 years later than Vice. So thank God for that, because there was a blast in those doors out. There'd be nothing left of them. But anyways, long story short, in my video, I take these granite balls, and there's a granite ball, and it's held up in place on the top door by those bronze hooks. It's a latch. Okay, it just holds the bronze ball there in place, and in the video they're thermal tabs. So when there's a high incident of heat inside the pyramid, it melts they use the stuff today and over boilers they have like lead sealed electric switches. The boiler catches on fire. Excuse me. It melts the lead, the switch open, and shuts the oil off. Same theory. You get lead up there. It melts the lead. It releases the ball. Now the ball's going to get down 300 foot, or 200 foot, 45 degree a shaft. It's probably going close to 120 miles an hour, and it's going to blast out that remaining section of wall in the King's Chamber. And what that does is it lowers the gravitational field in there. Okay, it kind of like it stops the energy. It more or less just shuts it down so it doesn't overheat and blow up. You have evidence of a pyramid that blew up. You have an evidence of a pyramid that blew up in the north of the Giza Plateau. Looks like it blew up. I believe these were safety mechanisms. Now, the reason the Queen's Chambers shafts were never not shafts, the walls, there was like 5 or 6 inches of granite. So if you envision the shafts come down into the 3-foot thick granite blocks, and they carved out the blocks and they put the shafts in, but they didn't completely go all the way through. There's like 3 or 4 inches of granite there. So that's when the ball comes down and just crashes right through the wall and shuts down the process inside the chamber. Point being, the reason the Queen's Chamber never had the walls blown out is because it was rebuilt. They had when they rebuilt it, they removed they took the balls down, or they did something so it didn't open up the shaft, the walls rather. Now the King's Chamber, Colonel Vice found the 2 openings. When he came in, something had shut it down, so it must have got hot enough where the shafts, the balls were let loose, and they crashed open the walls to shut down the action, the fission inside the King's Chamber. So the point being, going full circle here, they're just mechanisms to shut down a process. And unfortunately, Vice was able to stuff gunpowder inside the shafts and then light it because he thought the big stash was on the other side. And he did a lot of damage, and he blew what was left of the doors in the upper section of those shafts in the King's Chamber, and just blew them right out the side of the pyramid. So they're completely gone, obliterated.
Well, if the safeties are off, is the pyramid still functional?
Yes. It's functional because those shafts are now opened up into the chamber. Not to mention that the whole pyramid's opened up. It's turned it into an amusement park. So
yeah. Is there any way, John, of measuring this energy?
Yes, there's ways of measuring the energy. Well, they were in there doing. they had the muon plates. It was last year, I think. I forget who was in charge of it, but they went into the pyramid and they were placing plates. They were looking for other chambers in the pyramid. They're still looking for the stash. Silly humans. There's no end to it. But we'll take whatever they give us, right? So they put the muon plates out there, and then that's when they discovered they think they found something above the Grand Gallery or something. They think they got another chamber up there. They don't have anything up there. What it is that what they're not understanding is that this is a gravitational lens. It's a muon lens. It's it's a cosmic energy lens, and those plates are going to be picking up and reading false negatives, saying there's a cavity there, when in actuality it's not a cavity at all. It's just a higher flow of cosmic energy that's creating those that imagery on those muon plates. So the point being, they could use those muon plates to measure the energy. Now, I have a couple of primitive ideas on instrumentation also, and the thing with gravimetric equipment that they have, it's all like a ball with a spring and a fulcrum point. It's really very difficult to measure gravity in that particular because if you think about it, you're inside the gravitational lens with your instrumentation. So in order to actually measure gravitational differential from, say, inside the pyramid and outside the pyramid, the instrumentation needs to be outside the pyramid and connected inside the pyramid. So there needs to be two separate devices connected inside and out, and then that way you can measure the gravitational influence of the moon. You could do I got a couple of I got some primitive gravitational measuring devices. I got a ball drop device that actually measures the velocity of a ball dropping in 3 feet with micro clocks. So the ball drops, triggers the clock to run, and then it goes through the second scanner and it shuts the clock off. Now you could use those inside the pyramid in conjunction with the moon's angle and check and see. You'll see the difference of the ball dropping. It'll drop at a slow rate, or it'll drop at a fast rate. Depends on where the moon is.
Now,
Hope I answered that question.
with the pyramids placed where they are today, if they've been there for 100 million years or whatever, the Earth has tilted on its axis.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that shift and change the alignment of the pyramids and the magma and the volcanoes, because the axis has been changed since the last ice age?
Yeah, the tilt. Talking about the tilt. Yeah, the tilt is actually changing now. There's a road in Mexico, unbeknownst to a lot of people, that they go out and at the summer solstice every year, they mark where the shadow is. It's marching, I think on average, about 100 feet south every year. Okay, so the actual shadow on the summer solstice is actually moving in a southerly direction, which means that the tilt is going from 23.4, 23 and a half lower to the 22, 21 in that direction. It's not going there. I mean, you're talking about thousands of miles before you actually get a 1 degree tilt in the Earth from, say, 23 and a half to 22 and a half. But that is changing, and so too does the orbit of the moon. The orbit of the moon more likely will keep its 6-degree pitch from the equatorial plane on the Earth, but it'll rotate with it. It'll rotate with the Earth. And my other book there is something about the moon. The face of the moon actually rotates. That's actually a long lost clock for the people that are on the Earth to understand where they are in the larger cycles. We're talking huge blocks of time here. 100,000 year ice ages on average. So.
Well, and you do talk about the moon being the grandmother clock, which and I've read there's something about the moon, and it's a fascinating book. Can you go a little bit into the real purpose of the moon?
Yeah, that was my good researcher, my co-author, Wendy Salter. She's a spiritual psychologist. She definitely had a lot of great input on the metaphysics and the spiritual side of things going into this book. The moon is there's actually images on the moon. Come to find out. The dark side of the moon is actually the light side of the moon. There's no dark images over there. There's no shadows or anything. It's just all bright white. And then on the moon, the part that the face of the moon that always faces the Earth actually has images on there, whether they were burnt in by laser beams or what have you. But there's 5 images on the moon, and they're two of the most significant astrological signs that we have down here. It's the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. So, the claw represents, everybody's probably seen the claw on the moon, and that represents the Tropic of Cancer, same as we have down, as above, so below, So on the Earth, we have the Tropic of Cancer. On the bottom part of the moon, we have the goatfish, which is the symbol for Capricorn, and that's on the lower part of the moon. And that symbol was actually on some ancient Roman coins. Augustus, I think he had the goatfish on a coin dedicated to him, and he wasn't even born under that sign. I think he was Piscean or something. But anyway, let me go off topic here. We'll be in astrology. We'll never come back. And then come to find out there is a man up there looking down at everybody. His name is Khonsu. There's actually a human face up there, straight on face with eyes, lips, nose. It has the outside perfect geometry of the outside outline of the human face. And then there's the cobra, which is a huge symbol in Egypt. And everybody knows that Stele with Akhenaten and Nefertiti with their children, and at the bottom of they have that. There's been a miscommunication. Everybody thinks it's the sun. It's not the sun. That round disc with the lines coming down is actually the moon, and the cobra is at the bottom of it. And also, if you look at the lines coming down, they all have the same claw that's up on the moon. It's the exact same, imagery. So there's a lot. I don't know what happened. The moon's been put on the pay no never mind list. I don't know what happened, but we're going to find out. Eventually, we're going to find out why it's been put on that list. So, anyways, and then there's a C, which represents the tilts that the Earth goes through during these large cycles. And there's actually dark dots on this C. Now, if you get the book, or if you go on my YouTube channel, you can watch one of my videos, and you'll see the imagery. It's as plain as day. So that there's an integral part of the moon is actually a timepiece. It's a grandmother clock, and it does rotate. Like right now, if you watch the moon come up out of, just say a full moon, you watch the moon rise up out of the ocean. It's actually the Earth spinning into it, and we're seeing it rise. It has the appearance of rising, but not to get too technical. But you'll see that the claw and the Kansu, we call it Kansu. It was the last, the only story out there was our moon, the Creator God gave Kansu the moon to drive. So there's actually a bust in Egypt, a black granite bust of Kansu that looks almost exactly like the face that's on the moon up there right now. And
yeah, it does.
It's not. But you know what's funny is because I'll tell people there's an image of there's a man on the moon or there's a face of a human on the moon. Like, oh, everybody knows that. You know what you're talking about. You know, I'm like, no, it's not that. There's there's a couple of them that looks like Elvis with the big sunglasses or something else. But this one is very, very detailed. You know, an artist would have a hard time catching the geometry of the human face. The perfection.
Oh no,
it
definitely is a face, and so many people think you're referring to that face on the moon that long time ago they got pictures of that turned out to be some mountains and stuff. This is different.
Right.
This is actually a face. Yeah, and it is profound.
it's Isn't it? I
yes.
I saw it. I said, "Whoa! I just saw a face on the moon." You know, I was like,
do you think what
huh?
do you think what may have happened is that because of technology, because of pollution, because of everything in the atmosphere, that people today can't clearly see what is actually there because there's so much else going on in the atmosphere that you don't get a clear picture?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's probably has to do with light pollution, and you need to be out in the dark country, and to actually get a good visual of this moon, you have to literally be on the ocean, like on the beach, because once it gets up, an hour or two, it's so bright you can't even look at it. You know, it's very bright, the full moon, but when it comes up out of the ocean, you have that lensing effect from the atmosphere that actually makes it larger than it really is. And then you can actually, once you really look into the images, like if you get the book or you go watch the video and you let your eyes adjust and see where the images are, and then when you see the moon in real time, you'll then see the images. But yeah, I don't know why. It's beyond everything why nobody has seen what I've been seeing. So, but people are seeing it now. So that's all that matters. I'm not crazy. I have a handful of people that know what I'm talking about.
Well, no, I don't think you're crazy. I think that so much of the material that you've written about, and you've connected the moon so beautifully to its purpose for the Earth. I mean, if we didn't have the moon, we would be in big trouble.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
But the moon wasn't originally there.
No, it was probably somewhere else. But I think the moon was here before the Earth. To be honest with you. That being said, just to make a point with go full circle with the moon being a clock, like there's two phases of the clock. Now the face of the moon rotates. So right now, when you watch the moon come up, I'll get back to the other point you're making, but once you see the moon come up, you'll see the face of Kansu come up out of the ocean with the claw, and so you're in the age of man through the interglacial period. Now, if in the interglacial period, man is growing, he's expanding, he's reaching for the outer bounds. It's his age. Now, once that rotates, once the rotation of the moon turns the opposite direction, and the Cobra is down at 6 o'clock, then it's the age of Cobra, and man's on the run. You're going into the ice age. There's no more expanding into the higher latitudes. It becomes a very tight knit place to live. There's not a lot of land mass with the oceans being so high. Now, after you go into maybe go 100 10, 20,000 years into an ice age, you'll have a lot of land that'll rise up out of the ocean. Well, the ocean sinks, actually, because you're in ice building mode. Then you'll have a lot more land come available, but it's that first couple of thousand years going into the ice age. When you go into ice building mode, you start losing large tracts of land in the northern or the higher latitudes, both in both in the southern hemisphere and the northern hemisphere.
What happens to the atmosphere when you go into an ice age? Because you're basically taking a lot of the landmass that has been, you say, one thing you said was, I thought was so cool, was that the trees are the lungs for the earth. But during an ice age, you are going to do away with a great deal of the lungs. So does that change our atmosphere?
Logic would say yes. Logically, there would be some kind of a change in the actual percentage. Now, maybe not, because once the human family starts to decline, you won't be pumping out so much CO2. So you'll have a decrease in that also. So it'll I guess it'll all fall into its natural state. Like if you go into the ice core samples, and that was a great find when they came up and found those the ice core samples. They'd go back millions of years and see what the atmosphere is like. The atmosphere still has oxygen in it during the longer ice ages. So you're still hanging in there at 19, 20% oxygen and 79% nitrogen. So there is something else going on that's allowing the oxygen to be generated. Now they have done some studies down in I think they said it's off the coast of the Amazon jungle there, where they found that that's what they theorized that would be the largest discharge of oxygen. And come to find out, it was actually further out in the ocean. So there's so we don't talk about it because nobody understands it,
Well, you're talking about. I think you said that the ice age, from start to finish, was about 104,000 years.
Right. On average.
So.
Yes.
Humanity as a whole, in other words, goes into decline and then starts to rebuild again as you come out from the ice age into the water age.
Right.
But what happens to the pyramids? I mean, are they destroyed to have to be rebuilt, or do they stay? How does that work?
Well, a lot of the pyramids are in ice-free climates. They don't have to deal with ice that would destroy them. They're somewhat close to the equator, I mean, you got, the Giza is in Africa, for all intent and purposes. So, not to say that they don't get snow, but I think what happens is, the ocean currents obviously change, and you don't have that heat doesn't go as far north, but it could actually be warmer at the equator than it is now. So it's kind of, there's a lot of changes that happen when you go into an ice age. They call it ice building mode. So I don't think I think the pyramids survive as long as they're not submerged and buried by a mile of ice, which all the physical evidence suggests that the glaciers, I think in Europe, they came down as low as France, if I'm not mistaken. And so it's the glaciers that really do the damage. So where the pyramids are, the bulk of the pyramids on the planet, they're not anywhere near the glaciers. Now, that's not to say that, I talk about a lot of mountaintops have pyramidal shapes, trapezoid shapes, at the top, at the very peaks, and I think those were carved to set up the gravitational lensing in that mountain mass. So a lot of those high peaks don't have glaciers either. A lot of the glaciers are at the lower, lower 2/3 of the mountains. It's not really, the mountains are above the glaciers.
Well, are the volcanoes that are opposite these major major pyramids, are the volcanoes going to be free in order to let off steam, or do we not have to let off steam during an ice age?
Well, the plates right now are. I got a video on this too. The missing energy in plate tectonics. So right now you have the poles rising because of the loss of ice mass, and trillions of tons of ice have left the poles and gone into the ocean. Well, that ocean has gotten larger and put more pressure on the tectonic plates under the ocean, just the weight. And so what's going on is the geologists will tell you, mainstream geologists will tell you that the mountains are still rising. Things are still moving up. And what's going on is if you put your fingers together, slide your fingers together and just push, you'll see, you push your fingers together, almost like making a steeple or whatever, but don't turn it all the way up.
Yeah.
Too bad where you got a visual. I got a camera. It's hard to describe. But anyways, if you you push the plates squeeze together, they're squeezing together right now. So that's why you're having this magma pouring out of the Hawaiian Hotspot. It's because the more and more water that gets released into the ocean, the more weight that's pushing down on these plates, and then also you have the poles rising. So you have a reconfiguration of the planet's shape. The actual crust of the planet is changing from pumpkin to a spherical ball shape. So,
gotcha.
So the flip side of that, once you go into ice building mode, you start getting less ocean weight, and the weight gets transferred back onto the poles. Now you can take a balloon. You watch my video. I got a balloon. I squeeze the balloon, and when you squeeze the top, put your hand on the top of the balloon, the bottom, you squeeze it, the balloon spreads out from the equatorial region. So in essence, the plates actually release, and the tension actually gets released because it's being pushed down on it. So you don't have that need for a relief valve in that instance, because it's not under pressure anymore. It's relaxing. So in essence, the missing energy that I'm putting forth in my theory is that geologists stop as far as thermodynamics. They say it's plate tectonics that are pushing it. They're not completely wrong. Don't get me. These people are brilliant. Don't get me wrong. I'm not poo-pooing anybody, but I just wanted to put down that there is another energy in the interglacial period that actually is pushing, India up into the Himalayas by this crushing, a squeezing of the equatorial region of the planet because of the higher weight of water, the increased weight of water. So I hope I answered your question.
You did.
Okay.
Is there any way to harness this energy, to use it for energy, for electricity, for things like that? Is there any way to harness it, or is it just something we know is there?
Well, I guess it depends on how much. I mean, to harness geo energy, like the energy that's available on the planet, it's a large system. It's a large, the big systems. Is this the same kind of energy Tesla was talking about? I'm not. Well, Tesla was talking. He was actually tapping in from the differential between the electric current that's always in the sky and the ground of the Earth. And from what I understand, from what I read of his work, brilliant guy, by the way. Another brilliant guy. And from what I understand, so he was tapping into that differential and magnifying that differential with his coils, and he was creating electricity. So, so that being said, it's already been done. I mean, he's already proven that it's been done. It's just there's the oil economy has been like a roadblock for a lot of these technologies. Tesla was around to tell you personally what kind of nonsense he had to go through because he was giving it away. He just put it out there. He was trying to. That's for sure. He was a saint, really, and he's trying to put it out there and give it to everybody. So so you come up, not to get into politics, but there's been a roadblock for this type of technology. But as far as tapping into the moon energy, I think there's obviously something, because if you get subatomic particles flowing around, you get. I'm always asking for the 100 scientists at the university level so they can do what I tell them to do and don't ask questions.
Good luck on that one.
Yeah. So there is potential for I think tapping into the moon's gravitational forces is huge. Obviously, the technology is not available. You can't get down to the hardware store and tie a couple of things together and generate enough power for your house. But
these cycles,
the thought.
These cycles that the planet has been through since the beginning of time, sort of, the ice age and the water age, back and forth. You got to have it to shut it down. You just can't keep heating up until you disintegrate. Well, it'd be an Al Gore's world where the whole thing just turns into a big ball of magma, But is there any way to mediate it, to keep it so that, we don't burn up, but we don't freeze over either? Is there any way to bring it into a temperate zone all around the world? Is there really a need for the glaciers and everything?
I'm just standing on the shoulder of giants. That's all I'm doing. It's not anything that I can put my hand on. But what I've actually put my finger on. But what I've actually come to believe is that it's a flow. You can't just stop. You're either cooling or warming. You can't just stop it like the air conditioner and just turn it on 72 and be happy, because of the solar environment that we're in. So it's like it's either going one way or the other. So the ice age isn't too bad as long as you're in a good part of the planet. You're fine. You'll be fine. Yeah.
So how long do we have before we need to move to the temperate zone? And where is the temperate zone? Is South America, as far as I can see.
Yeah, right. Well, unbeknownst to the Americans, that wall's going up there to prevent them from running back down to the temperate zone.
Yeah, but we've got like 20,000 years to go before we have to worry about this, or something like that.
Oh, I wouldn't go that far, but we're third. If we just go by averages. I don't want to scare anybody, but just go by averages. The average interglacial period, we're at the max right now, 13,500 years. We're right at the end of it. But because we had a younger Dryas period, which was the planet came out of an ice age and then went back into an ice age. Okay, so it went. And what usually happens is you come out of an ice age and you just stay there until you go back into an ice age. But there's a couple of ice core samples that I studied that there was a few younger Dryas periods, and in those ones that had the younger Dryas period, you actually had a longer interglacial periods reaching out to 15 to 16,000 years. So you're looking at possibly another 2,000 years because we had a younger Dryas period. Okay. So you got plenty of time to They're still going to incarnate back. Everybody's coming back. Nobody's going.
Oh yeah, no, I just, I'm hoping to leave a message to myself: go south, go south,
go south, go south. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna. The tilt will become as I have my own theory on the ice age. As the water, as we come closer to the water maximum, the bigger the drag of the moon is on the ocean, and that's going to exponentially increase the tilt. It gets further and further, so we have less and less. The light doesn't come up as far into the higher latitudes. So obviously, at some point, you're going to wake up. It's going to start snowing, and it's going to continue to snow. And that's probably a cue for you to go south.
I would think that would be a big clue. But these changes, they take place over long periods of time. So it's not a matter of, oops, it's too late. There's a drift outside my back door. It's a generational thing.
It's slow. The people that built this planet, the guys that built this planet, they did it with life in mind. They did it with the care that everything's slow, so everything gets to adjust one way or another. So there's a survival rate. All living species have a chance to adapt and survive.
Yes, you can outrun a glacier. So that you're even those of us that are slow can outrun a glacier.
Yeah, there you go. I don't think we got to worry about it. We're still trucking along. We're a couple of thousand more years, anyways. But if we didn't have the interglacial period, I'd be down in the Bahamas having this interview.
Well, Lord knows. We're still struggling with temperatures in the 80s and 90s, so I don't think it's going to happen tomorrow. Now, is this conference the first big one that you've spoken at?
Yes. This is my I spoke at the first one a few years back. And that was the first international and scientific global pyramid conference, and that was a great conference. Beautiful people coming from all around the planet, everywhere, every continent, and just about every continent. And then you had scientists there. You had great speakers. It was a beautiful venue. So this will be my second time speaking at this conference. I've spoken at a few other ones, but mostly I do radio interviews. I was on Russian TV. I debuted on, it's like their version of the History Channel, 350 million viewers. So that was pretty good. They came right into my house and they filmed me, and I went through my my pyramid. This is before my moon book. I went through my pyramid theory. They actually were pretty interested in what I was working on. I was absolutely I
have to admit, for those who are interested, your books are Pyramid Gravity Force and Is There Something About the Moon? Both of them are fascinating and well worth a read, and they're not 500 pages, so they're the kind of read you can get through without having to do a marathon. And the conference is the Global Pyramid Conference, The Healing Power of Pyramids, and it's September 20th to 23rd in Skokie, Illinois. The website is globalpyramidconference.com, and I highly encourage people to check it out because there is so much going on here that it's an exciting time, and it's actually a time when you want to get yourself more familiar with the science and everything that is behind. Science is finally admitting that they don't know what's going on, which is a very exciting thing, and it means that it opens the doors to other modalities to come in, and everybody brings a piece of the puzzle. It's not that any one person has the answer. It's the astrologers and the astronomers, astrology and it's the guys that fill with the stars, and it's the scientists, and it's the archaeologists, and it's all of these different modalities coming into one place. Everybody brings a piece of the puzzle. And sooner or later, we'll get so many pieces together that we'll begin to get an understanding of what we were meant to understand, but just haven't reached that place where we could grasp it yet. And, we have Marta to thank for putting all of these people together. And I am in awe of the quality of people that are going to be speaking at this conference. It really is amazing, and you should get some sort of an award, Marta, for all the work that you've done.
Yes.
Well, thank you both. I just also wanted to add that during our award dinner on Saturday night, we are going to reveal for the first time anywhere a pyramid that was found in the late 80s by 3 men. And they felt this pyramid was so important that they decided to keep it a secret and made a pact not to tell anyone. And they kept this pact all the way through to all 3 of them had died and taken the information to the grave. They said there's still one person that has the information, and he's going to come out during the award dinner on Saturday night and tell you about this pyramid, its location, and the similarity to another major pyramid in someplace else. So this is first time this is going to be heard anywhere. So you can be there front row.
Or Marta will come on the show again after the conference and tell us all the secrets.
Yeah.
I hear there's laughter and chuckling. Arranging a conference like this, gathering this many experts together in one place, is accomplishment that only people who have tried to do it will appreciate. And it's amazing.
It takes about 14 months of my life, literally 5 days a week at the beginning. It goes on to 6 or more days a week to get this done. A whole bunch of volunteers behind the scene as well. So this is a love across the board. Well, we will be doing this.
And it's
all
not
together.
just
everybody's together. The team.
It's not just all of these speakers either. It's vendors. You have vendors that are going to be there as well.
We also have a very unique group of international vendors coming from England, Thailand, Canada, Switzerland, of course, United States, that had never been put together under one roof. So
even if
vendors are just as interested as the speakers.
And even if you're not interested in pyramids, it's a great place to shop. So
it's open to the general public throughout the conference.
Okay.
They can come and look and shop and try out all kinds of sessions, and most of them are of no charge.
That sounds fabulous. Well,
nice.
Blog Talk is going to shut me off here just in a few seconds, so I want to thank both of you for being here. I so appreciate your time and your energy and your information and your blood, sweat, and tears. And we'll have to do this again after the conference when we can get more into something about the moon and all of the stuff that you won't tell me now. So thank you
Okay.
both again.
Give
And
it
good
all
night
away.
now. Yeah.
Thank you, Barbara, for having us.
Thanks for having
Okay.
us. It was great. Great interview.
Good night,
Thank you.
everybody.
Outstanding.
Okay, guys, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate your listening. This will be available on YouTube, on my website, all over the place in about 5 or 10 minutes. Thanks again. Bye-bye.